yes, I know it's February, and I did intend to release videos and make videos and whatnot during January after I'd done all that stuff with the advent calendar and so on and so forth, but there were things that interfered with my personal life coming into play again. Things I can't really get into at the moment because they're not resolved at this point, but they have had some certain wear and tear on my own personal well-being, and I'm working on those issues at that point in time. That said, although there has been no new content over the last month or so, which I do apologise for, there have been people still subscribing. I don't know why you're subscribing to a channel that has obviously been dead for about a month or so, but thank you very much for doing so. And those of you who are still subscribed after all this time, thank you very much for staying with me. I don't know if it's just because you've forgotten I exist and I'm just one of the many subscriptions you're probably subscribed to, but the fact that you haven't unsubscribed does mean a lot. There's lots of things I'm going to try to improve as far as future videos are concerned, but I have rambled enough for the time being. I'm going to go and deal with this. This is Optimus Prime and Megatron, part of the Generations series. Prime and Megatron, they've been around since the beginning as far as Transformers are concerned. The two original leaders, as different as salt and something that's not salty. Chalk and cheese, that's what I'm thinking of. Where was I thinking salt? Blech. But this is for the Siege War for Cybertron trilogy, as I realise as I take a close look at the box stuff. Generations? Probably a reference to Generation 1. And it also confirms that's from Takara Tomy in both cases. The packaging is nearly identical in all regards. Obviously there's purple badges for Megatron, for Decepticon, and his name being the only real difference that you'll see from the outside. On the top we've got the respective faction logos, we've got artwork for both of them on either of the side packages here, and then we've got all of the stuff on the back to explain just what they can do. And you can see Prime transforms into his classic truck mode, no trailer. He actually has his classic rifle as well, which is a good little spot to see. Megatron on the other hand, if the autofocus will come into play there, he transforms into a tank. They've been doing that for quite a while now, since the end of G1, for example, simply because they were worried about him transforming into a gun, how it would actually have some negative ramifications if you saw a kid playing with their toy gun in the street and he might get shot by some police officer or reported for using a gun that he didn't really have. We've got the side art here, which is basically identical in all cases. The arc blasting off in both situations, Prime's eyes looking over everything. What I'm assuming must be Elite 1, Sideswipe, Prowl, I think that's Red Alert maybe, and then you've got various reiterations of various different characters. You can see Prime and so on and so forth all over the place fighting each other and so on. It's nice dramatic artwork, and it really does help sell the whole war that they're at so very, very nicely. They've got reference numbers here, WFC S11 and WFC S12, so Prime is coming first as per usual. You'll also notice that they've got the same artwork here, the same toy, what they're calling Battle Masters, which basically look like they're transforming robots that turn into guns, which are probably an updated version of the Target Masters. Yeah, but they're sold separately, but you can apply either to either Prime or Megatron, so they must be interchangeable. Maybe they're mindless little drones that somebody can collect, maybe they're just turned traitor, but apparently they can fire blasts and whatnot. You can choose your weapon loadout, and so on and so forth. I've got to admit, when I look at the artwork and the box work for Prime himself here, I do kind of wonder, will that chest compartment open up? Yeah. They are very good likenesses, just, going from what you can see in general of the original G1 forms. Prime looks very much like he does in the cartoons and original comics once they actually standardised the artwork, as does Megatron in his, specifically his cartoon colours. His colours in the comics were a bit different. He would have a black helmet, for example. Some of his colour scheme would be a bit more silvery, there would be more blue highlights and so on and so forth. Yeah, but whereas Prime in both mediums always looked more or less along this sort of line. They've also both have notable battle damage across the bodies. They've got bits where the paint have came off and so on and so forth, which all looks very, very good. Now, I've nearly ranted and raved for about 5 minutes on box artwork and other things without having to actually open them up here. So I'm going to put Megatron to one side. I'm going to look for a pair of scissors, which I just happen to have off camera, and just see if I can open this bad boy up. And let's see, what have we got? More sticky tape. I'm one of those people who doesn't like to damage boxes because you never know, you might be able to have some more fun with the boxes if there's things that you could scavenge from them, for example. Now let's just see what else is in here. That looks like it's it. Yeah, that's the backing plate for it. It's cardboard, as you would expect. It looks like there's some sci-fi elements of a spaceship and whatnot going on there. You've got the Autobot logo in there. You've got whatever the hell this is. It's anything... There's nothing on that whatsoever to sort of indicate what that might relate to. There might be something similar in Megatron's box, but I've just realised there you've got the Hasbro logo and 8+, so I know Zakara have the original rights to the original characters that were being used, but surely Hasbro has the rights to Prime and Megatron in their own right. And what does Tomy have to do with all of this? I'll have to do some research, won't I? Anyhow, here's Prime himself, and he's all secured quite nicely. This is actually a recreation of his classic rifle. It's not 100% accurate compared to the original toy version, or indeed what you saw in the comics and the cartoons, but it does look very, very accurate nonetheless. A few little gaps and so on and so forth that frankly could have done with being filled in, but never mind. You've got this amazing large axe which has the Autobot logo in the middle of it. I'm just trying to just free a few things up here. Prime's nicely secured in so many different ways. You know, the original boxes that they had for these things, they were usually transformed into their alt modes, and that basically kept them quite safe and secure and whatnot. Ooh, this folds over. That's handy. Is there any kind of give and take? Oh, this thing, it transforms in its own right. So can this become an additional gun? No, well, that basically becomes a bit of a shield, doesn't it? This is me without even looking at the instructions. How do you get the bits out? Okay, so you've got that bit there, that comes out like that, and that bit there, that comes out like so. Whoops, a daisy. Yeah, that's perhaps not as secure as it could be. That's a bit of a weak joint there. I mean, all joints are weak anyhow, but that's an especially weak joint, and I think some of the paintwork has just came off ever so slightly on my thumb there, but yeah, you can sort of see potentially some massive damage being done there. Let's get Prime himself out. Oh god, it looks like there's a fair bit of things still stuck in there. Oh, please don't. Oh, there's another one here, another secure tack which I didn't see. Right, you're now free, Prime. You're free to transform and roll out at your leisure. Yeah, I was seeing this backing plate before and I was thinking, is that going to be a false front to sort of cover something up? But no, it's not. Right, let's do a quick check of rotational awareness and whatnot. Well, he can do the splits, that's good, but he can't get his leg much higher than that because of obviously the grill bit there, but he can do stuff like a side kick and so on and so forth quite nicely. In fact, whoa, hey, he balances quite well, doesn't he? Yeah, that's quite nice. So let's just take a quick look in general here. Full 360-degree rotation there, and the arms go out to the side like that, so you can do lateral raises as if though, as if though he's a bodybuilder. Good degree of rotation there in the elbow. Hands, full turns, yep. The head, yep. Does that come off? Doesn't seem to. Can rotate, doesn't go up and down. Well, it does have a little bit of give and take, so you can make Prime do the head banging routine kind of thing. Yeah, knees, yeah, good degree of rotation there, yeah. I say rotation in the knees, there is some rotation then, that's probably because Prime's a really good dancer. You didn't know that, did you? Yeah. Foot, yeah. Yeah, there's quite a fair bit of very good articulation here. A little stiff in the elbow, but that would obviously even out now. The PSD resistance, does this open up? Can you see the matrix inside? No, it opens up, but there's no matrix. And so it probably opens up for some other reason. That's probably because you need to move this around like so to, yes, okay, there you go. So Prime's head disappears like that, and then obviously that goes over like so, and then you've got other bits like this. What the hell? What on earth is going on? Oh, okay, so that's going to be going around like so. Right, I kind of think that's how it's going to be going. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Prime to one side here and just have him be a headmaster for a little while. We'll put the gun and... I'll tell you what, let's unheadmaster him. There you go, Prime, you can see what you're going to be doing here. And we'll give him his axe. You can have my axe! Because he's going to help take the ring to Mordor, Mount Doom and so on and so forth. Right, we'll just leave Prime over here for the time being, and we'll just take a quick look at the instructions, because this is going to be one of these pulled out things, isn't it? Yeah. So you've got instructions on Micromasters. They're bringing those back, I didn't realise that. The Battle Masters are obviously... Well, they look like they transform themselves into some sort of robot mode. Whether it's still a Nebula or not, I don't know. But it does give you various different stats for the gun and the axe. The axe is actually more powerful. It also shows you all of these different little special effect type things that obviously comes with the Battle Masters and probably the Micro Masters as well. And they can be added on to give you all the energy effects as the laser blasts come out. Right, I'm going to put this to one side while I go and work on Mr. Megatron. So now that I know how these boxes open, I'm just gonna... Let's go! And again, we've got artwork that shows the Decepticon badge in the corner, and then another faction logo. These must be other faction logos. There must be some other faction logo thing kind of going on here. And of course, we've got the instructions for Megatron, which are going to be very similar to what we saw for Optimus Prime. So we've got artwork for Megatron there, and then his model, and then various stats and so on and so forth. His fusion cannon is incredibly powerful, but pales compared to whatever kind of sword he has. And then there's the Target Master, Battle Masters, Micro Master stuff. And then again, there's the instructions on how to make him transform. Alright, so let's get him out of the packaging. Yes, here he is. Hello, I'm Megatron. I'm not devious in any way, shape or form. And yes, doing an impression of Megatron always makes my voice go a bit sore afterwards. How Frank Welker managed to do that kind of voice for Megatron so consistently over the years, I'll never know. But hang on, wait a sec. Frank Welker is a bloody voice acting god. I'm sure he has his methods. Also one of the most well-played actors in Hollywood, simply because of the amount of turnover he can do in voice acting work. The only other actor who comes close, and perhaps has even overtaken him, is Samuel L. Jackson. Because Samuel L. Jackson works so much. He works very, very hard. So does Frank Welker. Let's see, can I free Megatron? Yes, I can. Okay, so Megatron is on the loose. And he can do side lateral raises as well. His elbows feel a bit stiffer. Oh, and his arm, his hand goes in like that, so he doesn't have any kind of rotation in his wrist other than inwards. His head... Ooh, his head... His head does not go a full 360. It just goes 180 and it goes up and down like that, which is a little disconcerting. Let's just get rid of that. He can do a side kick, he can do a front kick, he can bend his knee, his foot doesn't really have much turn there. That's probably more down to the nature of what he does when he transforms. He can make armpit farting noises and so on and so forth. And he's got great big massive tractor treads on the back. So let's just let's just put him down here for the time being. Try to get his balance right. I don't think we've got much freedom of movement as far as he's concerned. In fact, he keeps falling. Oh, hang on, one of his feet was actually... Right, one of his feet was actually stuck inside the other had somehow folded up. Yeah, like that. So it was stopping me from putting him down properly. And still, he doesn't have kind of the same flexibility as Prime does as far as moving around is concerned. Before I put the fusion cannon on, let's just take a look at it. It's different from his classic design, but it still looks rather good in its own right. That's the damaging end, that's a bit that goes onto his arm. Yeah. I kind of always wondered why Megatron didn't actually give himself 2 of these, because surely he would be more powerful with 2. And he'd be more evenly weight distributed. Let's take a quick look at this. It's a sword, which seems to have a cannon of its own, which seems to be kind of semi-based on the original design, but seems to be a bit more difficult to... Oh, hang on, there we go. Right. Okay, there you go, it can kind of do that. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird design in that regard. I mean, design flaw much? You can't really... You have to move it out the way a bit to get it to work. I mean, what's going on here? I'm just gonna... I mean, as long as you've got it in its sword mode, it's just gonna end up shooting the bladed bits off at the front. The tips are just gonna go flying. Yeah. Bit of an odd one. How does the box work? Oh, how does the box art depict this being used? Just like a sword, and then goes over his shoulder. Oh, okay, I can see what's going on there. So yeah, you can see it going over his shoulder there, and otherwise being used as a sword there. As far as his tank mode is concerned, it ends up becoming the turret. But it does have a kind of nice resemblance to his fusion cannon. Maybe he's just realised he needs more weaponry. He's seen all those Autobots who have a single shoulder cannon kind of setup, and he's decided, yes, that would be perfect for me. I'm Megatron. I should have as many guns as I like. All the better to shoot Starscream with if he decides to try to upstage me again. Right, I'm going to figure out how to transform these bad boys. I'll jump cut in 3, 2, 1. Well, by Primus, that was not easy. Each of them was a bit of a work in itself to transform. Prime was a lot easier to do than, say, Megatron was. I am not happy with the way Megatron has turned out at all in his tank mode. I mean, it must work when you compare Megatron, as I've done him here, to Megatron, the artwork that you see, but my god, he's just... There's no structural stability here. There's things that... There's pegs that plug into place there and other places and so on and so forth that just don't really feel like they're giving you much stability. The feet, for example, one of them keeps falling out of place. One of the inner bits here just doesn't seem to want to stay in place. And you just have a very rickety feeling to it. I mean, as a figure, it looks great, but in tank mode, I mean, I haven't even been able to get the arms to link together properly around the cannon. There's potentially a very nice design here, which kind of reminds me in some regards of the Thunder Tank from the original Thundercats cartoon, but when you put it together like this, it just doesn't seem to want to work quite as well. There's gaps all over the place that just don't show up in the artwork and on the original box work and whatnot. In fact, even on the original box work, certain things are in different colours. These vents here, for example, are a sort of silver colour on the box work. Box artwork, and whereas here they're a sort of clayish colour. Yeah, I mean, it's a very nice figure when it's in robot mode, and there is potential for it, but transforming it took ages. One of the problems is that, unfortunately, while they do give close-ups of what you're supposed to be doing on certain transformations, they're too close in certain regards to really make sense as to what you're really supposed to be doing. Yeah, I'm not really happy with it. It's, you know, when you compare it, it just feels like there's something not quite put together quite right, and when you try to get a bit more leverage and movement and whatnot, it just doesn't seem to want to go. Megatron's head, for example, does not want to retract any more than that, and although in the instructions seems to give the impression that it either moves in a different way or retracts differently, but no, I'm not liking the transformation. If you were to give this to a child, the chances are the child would end up breaking it quite easily. It's not brittle plastic or anything like that, it's just the amount of force that a child would end up putting into it in frustration would be too much for it to actually handle. It's just as well I'm enough of a fan to go slowly with these things. Prime was also a bit difficult, but nowhere near as difficult to transform. He was difficult enough in his own right. The wheels don't really work that well either. Yeah, they're too thin to really get any real purchase on any sort of surface, and they're plastic rather than rubber, which is always a problem. But at least he has stability in his form, okay? In this form he is very, very strong. I wouldn't mind having him, you know, left in this mode, but the fact is there's no possible extension to allow for a trailer. You know, they've kind of missed the mark there. They could have had, you know, just a mark here to just allow a trailer to hook on as an add-on and have all kinds of special add-on material for the trailer, but yeah, they're kind of missing the mark there. But hey ho, what am I gonna do? I think I might very well end up transforming them both back into the robot mode, especially in the case of Megatron, because he works as an action figure, something that you can pose quite nicely, and Prime works in both quite well. It's just, if you were to hand these over to children, I think in both cases they would end up getting broken quite quickly, which is a disappointment, but Prime does look good in this mode. I do like the truck mode that they came up with here. I suppose if you did end up attaching the weapons and whatnot, you'd look even better, but it never really looks right putting an Autobot together and putting them into vehicle mode and putting weapons on, because unless they're designed to actually be a weapon in their alternate mode, it never really quite works for me personally, but works for the Decepticons because they are supposed to be military hardware after all. So, can I recommend these as action figures, as posing figures, something you might want to put on your mantelpiece or your bookcase shelf or something like that? Yeah, they would probably work quite well. I'll just get rid of those instructions because they're kind of in the way. Speaking of the instructions, the ones for Prime go into a lot more detail than the ones for Megatron, but you know, I would like to have close-ups that actually make more sense, because even for Prime the instructions are just a bit on the bad side in some regards. They're just, it's like the old days when we had the little fold-out leaflets that gave you instructions on how to actually transform them from one mode to the other. They were a lot clearer and, you know, closer up to what they were looking at. You could actually make out far more clearly what you're supposed to be doing. Not so much with these ones, but action figure or truck mode, yep, go for that. Action figure only. If they're display pieces, you know, I would probably recommend just to put them as display pieces only. It's a bit of a disappointment in both cases, but one is far less of a disappointment. In fact, that's not disappointing at all. It's just the transformation method is so difficult, so fiddly. It's like they're deliberately going out of the way to be just a little on the awkward side. Well, that said, nighty night.